check out Terran Incognito, Horror Research 30, and all the other good shit we got going on. So,
all
we're
right.
out here promoting our movie, Normal Terror, right there. Yeah. We got Craig Reed out here. We got Jeff. We got janki climbing around doing all this shit out here. Check it out, everybody. So.
Let's start our show. I don't know where Bernard is, but I started it streaming. We're streaming. We're streaming live right now.
Yeah.
Pretend the music's there. Welcome to the Jeff and Joe. Oh, you're off to a good start, Pat. There. Put these on.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if it were any worse, I would name my hangout.
Oh, it's the day after Halloween. Back from the dead. It's the Jeff and Janky Show with our guests, Sam Mason and actor Craig Reed.
What's going on, everybody?
Wow. Happy Halloween, boys. Hope you had a good one.
Happy Halloween, indeed.
Post-Halloween.
Let's be Halloween show.
Correct, please. Yeah, no, you're right. Although Halloween... My mom always said this thing about Christmas. It's over when you go to bed.
Yeah.
I technically haven't really been to bed yet, so it's not over.
That'll make an old man out of you real quick.
I'm feeling like it right now, brother. Oh, man. I was at the party at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I turned to my brother, and I said, I'm going to be on the air in just under 4 hours.
So where did you start your Halloween party? Where'd you go?
I started it locally. Started it here. I almost went by what you did. You did the little
downtown Upland?
Yeah. I had to do a cool party with the halls and stuff, and went to hang with them. And there was a bunch of effects people. It was very cool. In Craig's honor, I watched Reanimator on Showtime Beyond.
Oh, did you?
Nice.
The original Reanimator is such a classic movie, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
And it was all my doing.
You know what? You are a hell of a big finish as the burn victim when you show up. He does that smash cut where you think they're safe and then you step out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of the ripoff from the Psycho.
Well, the effects artist Cleve Hall had told me in the music. You mean, yeah, Richard Van.
Okay, yeah.
He told me that wasn't even a real elevator.
No, it wasn't. It was.
It was a one-story. The set was one story.
Well, it was not. Oh, it was. Probably maybe a half story because they had a guy underneath there when they chopped off my arm. Had a hole in there so the arm would flop around on the floor to simulate my right arm. So I had to have a right arm stand-in.
Wow!
Wow!
So that's how that worked. And the whole thing was they were supposed to chop off my arm with the axe on set, but the day before, like at 3 a.m., I had a call for makeup and the prosthetics put on the prosthetic arm that John Nolan made.
Wow.
Okay, because he was a special effects and makeup artist on this show.
I've talked to John before. I had no idea he was the one who did your arm on Reanimator.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And we worked together on Son of Monsterpalooza, and we had the 25th anniversary show there on the panel with all the actors. Barbara Crampton, the gal I strangled in the elevator.
She's so sweet, isn't she?
Yeah.
She was a big soap opera star after Reanimator.
Oh yeah, well they did all the rest of the Reanimators, and then Stuart Gordon did the play, and they didn't call me.
Did you see the play?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to see it.
The play is freaking awesome.
Wait. There was a stage
Reanimator musical.
Yeah. Right downtown L.A. at the Dorothy Chandler.
Yeah, it was across from one theater is across from MacArthur Park, because I remember parking there, and they had a splatter zone. I went to 2 different performances, and in the first 3 rows, the audience had to get like a trash bag tuxedo if you're going to sit there. They had a head cut out. Because there was so much blood in the musical.
And on the stage, that's great, man. How long did this run for?
This ran for about 6 months, maybe 6 weeks, and it went to New York.
Wow.
I took my brother Steven twice. They did a review for Nuke the Fridge. Blew me away. It was charming as hell.
Oh, yeah.
So who played the Jeffrey Combs role?
Jeffrey Combs.
Mr. West.
I'll tell you, the guy who was amazing was George Wendt from Cheers. Played Dean Halsey, the Meg's
Dean
father.
Yeah, that's Robert Sampson.
Yeah, it was right. No, he's still with us. I looked him up the other day. He's still alive.
Oh, yes, he is. He lives in Hawaii.
How do we reboot this?
Reanimator?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a. Remember, see, guys like you who are destroying Hollywood. You look at a great movie and you say, we need a reboot stat. I mean, Halloween made money. The Halloween 40 made money. But they're going to learn all the wrong effing reasons. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to say, oh my God, $80 million for a Halloween movie? We got to do a reboot on everything.
Well, and if you think about it, I mean, the Halloween series itself, I mean, okay, so you're supposed to forget everything they've done the last 40 years.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
To make this one make any sense at all. You know, and it's like, what is there, like 15 Halloween movies?
Well, let's introduce you guys real fast. Okay. Craig Alexander, it just occurred to me, we didn't introduce you guys properly. That's what happens when you're doing a Halloween episode with a hangover. Post-Halloween episode with a hangover.
Halloween hangover.
Craig's been on before. And Craig is an actor. And as one of the great stories, Craig Reed even brought his own. So Craig... I'm not going to use your bio. I know you too well. Craig,
make a paper airplane out of it.
Screw you, Craig Reed.
That's
Craig
historical
Reed,
documents.
put your ego back in the box, champ.
Okay.
Craig is incredibly cool. He's a surfer. He's an actor. He is, again, because of a stuntman, because of an accident as a child, he lost an arm. But what's weird about you is you've made up for it. You're a one-armed surfer. That to me should be a movie.
Well, that's true, but then I would just paddle in circles. That's what I've gone on for a couple auditions for doing some commercials and for surfing, and I send it in and I write in there before they see me. I say, yes, I've been surfing since I was 12 years old at Huntington Beach Cliffs when they still had wooden oil derricks out there, and that's in the cover wagon days. and
smart ass.
And that's, I say no, and I surf, and I don't, paddle in circles. It's just you paddle and you adjust it just like a rudder. You use your arm like a rudder. And that's how I do it. But it's cool. I've professionally stunt trained for high falls and air ramps, fight scenes, and I have multiple arms to do all kinds of different things. And every time I go into an audition, I always tell the director, producer, and casting director, I'm looking around the whole room or whatever it is. I got to make sure I get all my body parts before I leave. I'm one of the only actors that can do that.
When we left the convention, Comic-Con Sunday, we were walking down the sidewalk, and then we saw another guy with a full robotic bionic arm, and Pat looked at me, and Pat was ready to say something. Thought he was a cosplayer.
Yeah,
with a bionic, Right. I said, no, that's the real deal, man. He had the carbon fiber, the rope, the hands, the really high tech one.
Yeah, well, I did that back in the '70s with the Boston arm and the Utah arm when they first started this out. And this was back in the '70s when I was working with UCLA Prosthetics Orthotics under John Bray, who was the director.
Wow.
And I grew up in the basement of the UCLA hospital as an instructor subject for upper extremity prosthetics.
Wow.
So the director always used me when he was teaching and instructing the new prosthetists how to build artificial arms for above the elbow. And so I did that for almost 18 years.
Well, as time, technology develops, how it advances every 6 months,
Oh, yeah.
over the years.
It's amazing. But Everybody, once in a while, they'll ask me, why don't you have the top of the line electronic arms? And I said, well, it's because if you need the mobility and you don't have the mobility, it's good because it helps. But they're highly expensive, and at least they used to be high maintenance, and I think they still are. And so instead of the $6 million man, I'm the $29.95 man. I just have
$29.95 man.
No, what's interesting about Craig is Craig has played a Borg on Star Trek.
Aliens, humanoids.
Aliens, Westworld, everything.
Oh my.
By the way, I will let you know as soon as I know when the Borg issue comes up. You'll be in my Borg. I've interviewed several Borgs, and they're coming up. I know I have, in the next issue, I have John, the guy who played Call of the Wild, Jack London. I have Jack London from Time's Arrow. Remember where they go back in time on Star Trek and they meet Jack London, who's working as a bellboy? So that'll be in the next issue.
You mean the author?
Yes.
Jack London?
Yeah, and he's a bellboy in this hotel in San Francisco who helps Data do something.
Oh, that's amazing. I just wrapped from Call of the Wild, Jack London.
With the great Harrison Ford, right?
Harrison Ford, yes. I play the stew seller.
Good, because it'd be a little weird if you were playing the dog.
The dog, no, there is a dog in there, and it's up in the 1880s in Alaska, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't, if they come up, if I say too much, they'll come up and cut off my left arm.
Yeah.
They're in really bad shape.
There are still more roles for double.
Let's make him talk. Open his tongue up, boys. Let's hear what this Harrison Ford movie.
There is a dog in the movie. And
you can confirm this? There's a dog in the movie based on a Jack London book?
Yeah.
Now, I think I remember seeing one.
Harrison Ford's Greatest Challenge.
Wasn't there a Charlton Heston version?
Yes. And there was also a Clark Gable version.
Oh, probably way back when, and I think I've seen that.
1935.
Was Walter Brennan in there too?
He most certainly was. Very good, Craig.
I thank you, because I watched that, and that's when Walter Brennan had some hair, and he was just kind of a nasty old.
I love Walter Brennan.
Yeah.
And on today is Craig's co-star, the star writer, producer, and director of Normal Terror, which is a really trippy. Introduce yourself to our audience. He's a second-time guest, Smarty.
What's going on, everybody? This is Sam Mason with Sacrificial Pond Productions, and we are live on Kaotic Radio. It's an honor to be here. Normal Terror is my first film as a writer, director, producer, and
star. That's you on the poster. Can we pan over and show us poster?
The Mevo camera follows him. Let's see.
We're at. Here we go. Can we
Sing for your supper, you bastard.
It
show the
should be.
poster.
That's a little delay right here on this monitor.
There we go.
There we go. How's the glare? Glare good?
Yeah.
Pretty good, actually. I can see it.
Anything, all that good stuff?
What's that arm doing in front? There we go.
From Star Trek. Coming up again.
So is doing all of these things, it's, we're also doing our own special effects in-house. We're doing, I'm doing my own self-promotion. I'm not, represented at this point in time. As an actor, it's my 7th film.
Oh, it is? What was your first?
My first film was actually a student film up north, and it was called Idioms, where I played the character of Mr. White, or Detective White. It was kind of a Pulp Fiction type thing where, I had Detective Black, Detective White, and I was a detective that was struggling with my own demons. And so, we went back and forth kind of like on Pulp Fiction between Samuel L. Jackson and...
the other guys. It's too early in the morning.
Travolta.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the morning after Halloween. And remember, Pulp Fiction also jerks around with time as well.
Right, that's correct. So
you wouldn't have a happy ending if it was told in consecutive order.
Right.
one of them would die in the middle of the movie.
But I mean, it was my first part, and it was a lead part, which was was pretty cool for me. So I've done three or four lead parts, and then I did 401 Liberation Front by Bill Rice, who directed Leprechaun 2. So it was and that was my first co-starring role in a feature.
Bill Rice, Leprechaun 2. If that was is that for funerals and wedding? If so, my friend's cousin did the music for that one.
I'm not sure. I know Bill Rice directed it, but as far as anybody else in it, couldn't tell you. They had a little leprechaun in it.
Well, but Sam, what impresses me about you is you're very intense on screen, but you're the most mellow fellow off camera, which is hilarious.
He scared the hell out of me. It wasn't hard to work off of him. We did a real good job, and back and forth, and just
Aaron Anderson was
his terror in his face and his intense was easy for me to do what I needed to do. To die, as he says.
When you're doing all of these things and you're setting up, your shot list and your production schedule and all of this stuff, it's my first time doing it, so we're making a lot of mistakes.
You're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, try to fix that speech before AFM, will you? Right? We're urinating money.
It's a 102-minute film. And so far we've gotten approximately 20 to 25 minutes of usable footage thus far, on an extremely low budget, because currently everything's coming out of my pocket. We are looking for financing and putting together a package. I actually I sent you guys my trailer. So
good trailer.
Have that. But we've got a trailer put together. We've got everything we need to to get this thing finished and do it. And there's a lot of things that we're doing outside the box on this film. The film industry has been set in this little box of what makes money, step 1, 2, and 3. As we were talking about Halloween just a little while ago. And everything that we're doing about this, from the types of shots that we're doing, to the script itself, to the music we're using, and how we're doing this is completely different than anything else out there. The storyline itself is completely different than anything that's ever been done. So
the whole thing with the father, and you're a father with a son, and it's kind of nurturing parts of the trailer, and then they cut to you doing terrible things to nice people.
Right. Well, and that really goes off the psychology of of human beings. First off, in our primal instincts and our initial nature. Is you protect the things that are yours,
right.
And especially being a father and and that type of an alpha male, being a single father, doing his best to take care of his son, struggling with the difficulties of a teenage boy and life stresses and paying bills, that's something that everybody can relate to, but if you're going down the freeway. And you're already, if I was running late this morning, somebody would have rear-ended me. I spilled my coffee all over myself. The first instinct that I have is, I'm going to fucking kill you. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
I know it's not.
We'll let one go. It's the hungover day after Halloween, so we'll let that one go.
So,
but you just uttered a...
It's, it's one of those things where it's like, our initial instinct is to react with anger. The difference in this character is that he doesn't have the ability to block that anger. He doesn't have that conscience in him that tells him, what, this is not okay to do. So man becomes a monster after he puts his son to bed, and at moments of opportunity where, he then brutally, abducts and kills people. But from the perspective that we're doing it at, there's no MO for this guy. It's never explained why he does it in this set, in this first movie. So I think everybody's going to be able to relate to the father-son relationship and the struggles that he's facing. And then some people are going to, and that's where the horror and the psychological gore, as we call it, comes into play, is that it's from a serial killer's perspective before he's caught. All the research I've done on serial killers, they're very charismatic people, very charming, very unsuspecting. And at the end of this, I want the audience to walk out of the theater, and I want them to look at the person next to them and wonder what if. Because until a serial killer is caught, you don't know who the hell it is. You don't. You could be walking by him, and that's
I do.
one of the right. Craig does.
Well, just like when John Wayne Gacy, for instance.
Right.
Now, he was the only one. When you have sharp edges on a clown makeup, that's where it becomes creepy and the evil. All the other clowns got the round makeup thing, but when you put those sharp edges, and everybody just said, "Oh, he's such a nice guy. Look, he does birthday parties.
Yeah.
He's a great guy in our community."
But the perspective of this film is from the serial killer's point of view before he's caught. So there's no cops, there's no investigations, there's no backstory on the victims, there's no follow-up on the victims, no family looking for him, any of that stuff in this. It's literally about him, and his kid doing the best he can to survive as a single father, and the horrible things he does at a moments of opportunity. Every murder scene is different, and every abduction is different. So there is no MO whatsoever. It's going to be a true mind screw.
Now, your son plays your son in the movie, right?
That is correct.
Well, now, was that, were you a little bothered by that because of the subject matter? Dad's playing a killer. Wow, that's a creepy clown.
Yeah, okay. Now that's a hobo. That's your Emmett Kelly kind of hobo clown.
It's a
knapsack on the railroad track.
It's a horror Emmett Kelly.
Yeah, but that one.
That was from Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights 60. I played a hobo clown at the Gates Motel maze, and so that just freaked.
Oh yeah, that's disturbing me right now.
Well, that's good because my kids my grandkids can't even see it because my son and daughter won't let them see it.
When I did the Horror Nights preview like a couple years back.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and they did the chainsaw wielding clowns come up to you. It was like press night, and one of the clowns broke character and whispers, "Hey, Mr. J." She was a former student.
Oh,
and then one of his high school students recognizes him.
I had no idea who it was because they're all matching leering clown makeup, and this one leans in and goes, "Hey, Mr. J." So I was amused. But for me, the trailer is upsetting. I mean, it's a scary trailer.
Thank you.
I wanted it to be very unnerving. I wanted it to be real jumpy and kind of. I want your skin to crawl. Because
mine did.
Literally.
Your skin crawled on its own, may I add.
Well, with the help of a belt sander.
That's the only one we got to get up, but. No, it's the tagline itself. Is the psychology of the name, normal terror. You have this, again, single dad doing his best to take care of his kid. So that you have the normal aspects that everybody can relate to, and then you have the terror side. So it's almost like, and if you look at the poster, he's his personalities in a way, or his personas, and I'm not saying that he is a schizophrenic with multiple personalities, but he has these two different beasts inside of him. So
interesting. I mean, to me, that's good stuff. The trailer is unnerving. Well, now, was this the first film you starred in and directed?
Yes. This is as a writer, director, producer, actor, special effects, lighting, sound, set design. Yeah, all of these other things. Self-promotion. This is the first time that I've done all of it. So other than acting, as an actor, again, it's my 7th, but as everything else, it's my 1st. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Craig, was that weird to be a victim in this instead of, you're usually heavy or...
Well, no, not really because of the prosthetics, because I'm used to, on call at the makeup chair at 3 o'clock in the morning. And this was about maybe 8 o'clock up in Santa Clarita on a metal bed spring and laying down and then applying all the makeup. And it was kind of interesting. So it was easy. It was easier for makeup for me. This was easier, but the stuff for like the Star Trek stuff with Michael Westmore, he did all my makeup, all the special effects, and he did everything.
Isn't he a great dude, Michael Westmore?
Oh, he is. He's one of my friends, and we talk maybe every month or two. We'll call and see how things are going. He invited me up to Santa Barbara because he was showing they had a display of all his different masks and stuff. And on I played one of the not aliens, but well, yeah, it was an alien. It was species 10026.
You were one of the 1006, the Hirogen, the Hirogen, right?
Well, I believe that was it. That was with
We have to make sure we covered this in the interview. Yeah, but 7 of 9, right?
7 of 9, yeah. Jerry Ryan. Mm-hmm. Oh, what a lovely actress, and very. She
filled that spandex suit pretty well.
Well, I didn't. That's not what I was saying. I might have been.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
No,
okay.
She's a very classy lady, and
unlike Jeff.
And she was very giving for the camera. She let you have your FaceTime on the camera, your money shots, and she was very good. And so I was just amazed. I thought the way they ended that episode, that they would, would there be some follow-on episodes for me and my family as we got away from the Borg cube and and the hive, and but that didn't happen. Oh, that's one of the Borgs calling.
Oh, I was
mental telepathy.
You've got a message from Jeff Sargent. I'm thinking, why is that a-hole writing me on the air? But it was an old message from Jeff that bounced up. I think the a-hole knows we're doing a show together as we speak. You're not an a-hole.
Now the carrot, when you're what's that race that you have that on Voyager with the big sharp thing going down your nose? Who are they?
It's just a humanoid. That's a humanoid.
Humanoid.
The species 10026 is a.
Oh, that's what
we've been talking about it for the last 10 minutes. Wake up,
yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that they were
Borgs, aliens, and humanoids, and the species 10026 was a humanoid. It was just a separate human race species.
When I was doing Star Trek Aliens, they were always telling us the ones they felt sorry for were you guys, the Borg. They said once you were in those little diving outfits, you were in for like 9 hours.
Oh yeah. In Star Trek Next Generation, they were like 3 or 4 different pieces, and so they'd put those on, and so if you had a bathroom break, they'd have to unharness you. I mean, it's worse than a corset.
Yeah.
And then putting on all the makeup, and they did the makeup and a lot of the
wax teeth
stuff.
And all that. You remember that? Those good old days?
It's about 4 or 5 hours, and so it took about 10 minutes to undo everything so that you could, do your business.
Yeah.
And then they had to get that all put back together again and then start shooting. So in the void. What?
Hopefully you didn't have to wait till you actually had to go.
Oh yeah, it would have been crisis mode.
Kept your liquid and food intake to a minimum, right?
Well, not really. Craft services is, like I always say,
unparalleled.
Yeah. You can tell a good show or a good movie, especially with the actors, once you see them thin, and then after a couple of movies or 1 or 2 seasons on a series, they start beefing up. That's
and they found out,
It's good craft service.
You said
craft service.
Craig said that the other night at LBAFA, and I thought, boy, he's totally right. There was an episode, I wouldn't mention the actor because he's cool, but his character is supposed to be being tortured and starved in China. And they opened the season, he was fatted out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Craig was right.
I should talk because I see that and I cut back, thank goodness, on the Call of the Wild because I knew they had great craft service. I mean, anything and everything you wanted was there, and you just got to hold back. And so it was that was the most struggle, is holding back on craft services on Call of the Wild. But I will get my Oscar nomination, I'm sure.
I don't know. If Harrison Ford's playing a dog, that means he's trotting around naked in the snow.
No. I didn't say that. Please, we'll cut my part out now just because of that. No. There is a dog. You know, it's a little Chihuahua, and no. But it is going to be something that it's going to be quite different, just like Normal Terror. It's not something that you're going to expect from a Jack London movie.
Wow, I'm intrigued. I'm a huge Jack London fan. We were in Jack London Square on the way to Seattle, Donald and I, and Donald brought me into this bar, and they rapid fired you 5 questions about Jack London.
Oh my goodness! And then if you didn't answer them, you got thrown out.
Well, I know I got them all right, so I got
good for you.
A free round and a free shot glass.
Oh, good for you!
I love Jack London, man. He's great. And I mean, his short stories too. To build a fire.
You know what's funny about that is actually one of the soundtrack bands that we have for this. His name is Jack London.
Wow.
And his band is called The Wild. And the trailer song that we actually have is from Jack and The Wild.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, that's an original tune, and they're actually writing a song just for Normal Terror.
Sam, how long a shoot was Normal Terror?
So far, I think we have shot approximately 8 days.
Wow.
8 to 9 days, and so far we've got about 10 minutes of 15 minutes of footage between my son and I, and then we have 2 murders and 3 abductions completed. So we have the acid bath scene, we have the sanding delicately scene, with Craig.
I thought he was joking about the sander.
The dark humor in this is, that each one of the victims is given kind of a different name. It's like if you're out people watching at the mall or something like that, you kind of watch people and you give them the nickname. So that you can recognize them and place them in your head when you're talking to somebody or whatever. And so I kind of did the same thing when I was writing this. Is each one of them has a little nickname, dark humor that I throw in. So Craig's is of course Oh Sandy. If you think from Greece,
right.
Plug there. He's like
I didn't think about that. My gosh, I'm in Greece.
But I actually say that on screen when I first, when the camera's on me and I'm watching him from afar. I actually say that on camera, like, oh, Sandy. It's just like, this dude's got to go. That's when I make the decision that, that he's the victim.
Wow.
So yeah, but I mean, each one of them is completely different, and a little bit of dark humor is, when you guys get a chance to read the script, once I release it, you'll get to see some of that dark humor in there.
How much more time do you think of filming to complete the? If I had the budget right now, I could have it done in 30 days.
Wow.
That's what I was going to say, because you had what? We got 8 days on it so far.
Yeah, I've got about 8 days
and with
so far.
with the less that we have, I figured 5 times about 30 days would be about right.
Well, I mean, there's a total of 7 murders. I've got 2 of them complete and 3 abductions.
I didn't want to say that because I didn't want you to yank on my other good
So a few more weeks.
So yeah, we've got about 30 more each an individual day to shoot those. So but I mean, I've got a phenomenal makeup team. Marisol Almeida is my makeup artist. Steven Stonecipher is also a producer along with Craig. And he's my ballistics gel expert. He helps me with the props, and we're using a whole different process. So our special effects props and our company, Stonemason Special Effects, is making the most hyper realistic props in the business today.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, there isn't a pore that's on your hand or in your skin that he doesn't pick up. You know, so we actually do have to hot knife the fingerprints so that they can't be used in a crime, like on
Really?
years ago. Yeah, because they're that realistic.
On what years ago you were talking about? What happened years ago? Oh yeah, with the two extras.
Yeah.
The two extras were dressed as cops, and they decided to steal some food.
Right.
Wow! And then real cops were in line and watched them do it, and they were busted on the scene.
Yeah.
You know, these two idiots were dressed as police officers on a Halloween. By the way.
Right.
Wow, interesting. So, by the way, let me digress, and we'll work our way back. How was your Halloween, fellas? Tell us about it.
I'll let Craig go first. I've been on the air for a while. Go ahead.
You sneaky little. No, I had a wild Halloween party. I was out Halloweening with my 3.5-year-old Brooklyn Miller. She was a little green fairy, or actually the what is it? Oh, not Peter Pan. What's
Tinkerbell?
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell.
Oh my goodness! And one of her the other grandfather, had Tinkerbell's wand, and so he was carrying that because she had her bag for her trick or treats, and then she had her wings that were had little green lights, and they were flashing all over the place. So it was amazing. And then my other grandson, Brady Miller, he was one of the star pilot fighters from Star Wars, in the orange suits.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He had his starfighter, X-fighter flying around, and he stopped in to get candy, and it was all really cool.
Was this down in Huntington Beach, local? What?
Pardon?
In Huntington Beach?
No, this was in Yorba Linda.
Yorba Linda.
Wonderful Yorba Linda, California, in the rolling hills of Yorba Linda.
Yeah.
Birthplace of Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon, yeah. He's got his museum down there.
And OPH, you have an OPH out there that's astounding. The original Pancake House.
Oh yeah.
You've been there, right?
Yeah. Breakfast is my favorite. Meal of the day.
Me too.
Me too.
Right here.
Most important meal of the day too.
Yeah. Well, it's always because either I was either going someplace where I liked, or I didn't have to go to work, and but it's different because when I go to work now, it's going into craft services, and so it's just double me. And that's why I got to watch it. So I did a lot of walking yesterday, and then I only snuck a few pieces of the, wonderful Baby Ruth, Snickers, Butterfingers, $1,000 bars.
Three Musketeers, man.
Three
in York.
Musketeers, yes.
Three Musketeers, Milky Way, and York's Peppermint Patty. That's and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Those are my kryptonite.
That's what I had last night. Rolos, Rolo candies.
Dude, I love Rolos.
Those little caramel-filled chocolates, yeah. And I had some Skittles.
Ruins it for me, boys. I want straight up.
And Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and that was it. I had to cut it off.
Chocolate that just rockets your endorphins and just your.
Oh yeah.
At 2:00 in the morning. Hold on. Watch this. Hang on. Where is it? I know I had one.
You've got chocolate.
You still got melted candy in your pockets?
No. I have. Yeah, hold on. You know what? The hostess goes, "Hey, you have one of these," and I pocketed it. But
what is that?
Crispy treat.
There.
Dude, I love those.
Open that shit
don't
right
open
now.
it.
Give me some of that.
How dare you? This was for later to dunk in my coffee.
No, it's for right now.
Partake?
You ain't dunking shit, buddy.
I was tempted. I like the smell. You want some? You want to break off a piece?
No, I'm good.
Break off a piece?
No.
I'm not sure if it was open. So, I just.
I didn't want to steal your coffee. I'm a dunker. People hate me. Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
I'm a total dunker.
No, I'll tell you, the Rice Krispie treats, but you have to homemade, and you put in the little cinnamon hots.
Oh yeah,
Not the hot
cinnamon hot
tamales,
candy.
but the little,
Yeah.
the little circles, and with the cinnamon, and then that is really dynamite.
Perfect,
That
thank you.
puts it on a whole nother
Love
level.
7-Eleven. I remember it was great seeing you guys the other night at Derek Easley's thing. I mean, I had a good time with the LBAFA. Yeah, that was it was really cool. I enjoyed your stories, you know?
Yeah.
We knew you guys, we already knew you were a great guest, but we knew you had to have you on, Sam. You know?
And I really appreciate it. You know, it's, Hollywood has this, this thing that, you have to spend millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to make a good product. And we're trying to bring 80s school horror back.
Which is great. Practical effects, the whole...
We're all doing, nothing but practical special effects. That's all we're doing. And I was talking about earlier before you asked about Halloween, which I never actually got to.
Did you see the movie, or?
I haven't yet.
I haven't either, but it took all the air out of the room this Halloween. There was really nothing but Halloween 40, you know?
And that was, what, a week and a half, 2 weeks before Halloween itself?
That's all anyone was talking about. Did you see it? And it's like, Predator came and went. I wanted to see the new Predator, and it was gone.
That came and went, and
there's a lot of movies that have come and gone over the last 2 months.
I can't believe how quick they go to DVD, man.
Oh, it's like
from the theater.
It's like 2 nanoseconds.
Yeah.
Even the prime ones. Even in the main movies.
It's a national release and goes to DVD. I do. But I mean, there's this big stigma that you've got to, take all this and do all that, and, in order to make a movie. But back in the day, they didn't do it like that. You had a great vision, you made a movie, and you did it your way, and it was your vision, and it was, and that was what makes, films like Reanimator and Hellraiser and all those iconic
word of mouth. But what made Hellraiser? One of the things, and I'm working on a Reanimator article. That's why I was really thrilled. You're one of the pieces you're in. But when you look at, I just did a thing for the 30th anniversary of Night of the Demons, and Night of the Demons and Reanimator and, like you said, Hellraiser. These things didn't open nationwide. They had a Reanimator came out of Chicago, just like Dennis Pioli.
Stuart Gordon was back east, and he was a theater director and writer, producer, I assume. And
I am so thrilled you worked with him, because I've interviewed him several times and I did a movie with him. He's one of the smartest cats I've ever met. He's a college professor, and when you talk to Stuart Gordon, he just blows your mind. I mean, when you talk to him, he knows everything about any given subject.
Did I ever tell you how I got that part?
No, please tell.
Okay.
Do tell.
Well, I sent in for, they had an open thing for, we want some people on this new movie, Reanimator. And so I went in there, and I was waiting outside, and then they called me to go inside, and here was Stuart Gordon. And I think there was somebody else in there, or maybe not, but he came in and he saw me, and he said, I had my prosthetic arm on, so I had my hand, not my hook, and because I didn't know what the deal was, And so I walk in there, and here's Stuart Gordon, and a big, back east play producer and director.
Organic Theater head.
Huh?
He headed the Organic Theater out of Chicago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. And so, anyway, he looks at me, and I give him my little spiel, and he gives me his spiel, and then he says, what I want you to do is scare me. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And we're just in a room, just plain blank walls, and there may be his casting director was in there, and I'm wondering, what am I going to do? And so I just get up to him into his, into his space, and I raise up my prosthetic arm with my hand. I stick it on his neck. I stick the other one on there.
By the way, you're touching the director, which I urge you never to do.
On his neck, not anything else, on his neck. And then I just, and I just did that for a couple of minutes and shaking him.
And somebody said, "Working today, Craig?" No, Hollywood joke. Sorry.
It seemed like for a couple of minutes, but it's probably maybe 5 or 10 seconds. And then I step back, and he looks at me. It seems like for hours, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I touched him, and most people, because of they're worried about colds and everything, and so they don't shake hands, and they didn't even do the fist thing. They just
Not even bump.
yeah. You put up here and they hi.
Yeah, I hate it when people do that.
Yeah.
We like a firm handshake grip, right, Pat?
Yeah, and we do, or a hug,
And so, to finish this, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and then he says, "You're hired."
Wow.
Yes.
And then we find out what was going on with all this stuff, and it was all the makeup from head to toe.
Wow.
And they said, "Well, there is going to be nudity in there." And I said, "Well, I'm afraid I'd break the camera and I don't do nudity." So they gave me cut off Levi's, and then they had one hanging, a piece of hanging Levi off there, and I was supposed to be like a freebaser or something that caught fire and it just fried me like a barbecued chip.
You're really disturbing, because I was watching it the other night on Showtime Beyond, and I got at the end of LBAFA, they ran like a sweetened reel of everything we all did, and when they ran the last 5 minutes of Reanimator.
Well, that's my clip.
Yeah,
that's what I show on LA Casting, Actors Access.
I just wanted to watch the movie. I wanted to watch the whole thing after the clip because it's such a great, disturbing finish.
And some of the directors that were there said, "Ooh, that was my favorite movie for a cult classic," and that was really great because you say LBAFA, and that's the Long Beach Actors Film Association.
Yes.
And it was the first time I was invited.
Me too. I was touched to be there,
And, small world that we keep colliding.
I was happy to see you guys, you know what I mean?
Huge shout out to Derek Easley.
Derek Easley, what a great guy.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal down there, and I've talked to them, through Facebook a few times, and, they're just amazing down there, and, to be invited out there and be on that show with Craig and, you and, some of the other guys out there was truly a very honorable experience.
Oh yeah, it was great. Very, very warm, very giving. All the producers and directors
and Derek and Megan running that whole thing. I was really impressed with them.
Yeah, they do a good job, and it's what a lot. I mean, there should be more of those little boutique, associations for people that want to do film and express themselves, because it solves a lot of things that people go off and do other negative things, where if they have this this opportunity and the openness to do that with your cell phone. I mean, almost any cell phone is a camera, and you can shoot and produce and learn the whole trade, to a certain extent.
A whole lot of people now, there's a complete market for film video.
Shot on an iPhone.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they're doing now.
So, yeah.
Sam, what are you shooting Normal Terror with?
We're shooting it on a Nikon D850 in 4K.
Wow. Yeah, but it's never been easier to make a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, John Landis, I was in a friend's classroom when John Landis came in, and Landis made his first movie when he was like 23, 21, 22. It was a shock. And he came into this class full of students, and he said, "What is a filmmaker?" Mm-hmm. And, the first girl, something like, "He's got a great eye." No. Next kid, and it's like, and they go, "Oh, he has a vision." No. And he went through the entire room. What is a film director? What is a... And they're all, "He's got an idea." No, and so after all these kids, he just turned around and he said, "A film director is someone who's directed a film."
So simple.
Yeah, and once he said that, it made complete sense. And he was like, he pointed at these kids and he's like, "Why haven't you made a film yet?" He goes, he made it at 23 with this. went deep into debt to make this little horror movie parody, Schlock, a parody of Trog.
They were doing it with Super 8s.
Yeah.
16 millimeter film.
Well, Super 8s with the kids. I mean, with the.
That's what I did when I was a junior high.
Oh, Super 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that was the thing. That was the cutting edge then.
Remember that? The bleeding edge of technology.
With sound.
Do you guys
With
remember
sound.
like the old
When
camcorders, like the family version?
Yeah.
Old shoulder camcorders.
I remember when you make an 8mm epic and you couldn't wait for Thursday after you dropped it off because the movie would come back on Thursday. And then you'd have the big family debut of the new movie. You know what I mean?
They were 50-foot reels, and they lasted 3 minutes. And it cost about $6 and some change to buy a roll of film. And just to get some footage, you had to spend some money and then get it developed and hope it came out.
And you damn well better have the story ready, because if you're just going to F around and not, you would run out of film before you knew it. And it's like, my epic.
And that's a cool thing with doing digital now, is that, you know, if you don't like what you've got, you know, if you don't like any part of it, you know, like when I run through the dailies, or, you know, I review the shot, you know, as director and actor, you know, on set, you know, and working things. If I'm reviewing a shot and I don't like something in the shot, I can delete it off the disc.
Wow.
And, you know, have that space remaining to.
Don't you want stuff for the DVD or the Blu-ray though? Don't you want?
Some of it I do. You know, but that's another thing that we're doing different with this film, is that we're showing the audience how we do everything.
And we're doing
on social media and you know, on my Instagram and Facebook and, you know, stuff like that. I'm actually showing you how we make the props. I'm showing you what props we're making, what scenes we're making them for, and, you know, we're going into a whole lot more detail.
We're doing it behind the scenes concurrently with the movie, so that we can have a 2 CD.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I like that when I get a CD like that.
Because people want to know, well, how do they do this stuff? And the thing with Sam and me on this picture, when you're working on, you know, Star Trek or you know, Call of the Wild, the actors don't get, a lot of times, unless you're the main actors, a lot of times you don't get to see what's going on, you know, and because of time and whatever it is. But it really helps when you can see what you've done after you've finished the scene, and you come back and look at the dailies or whatever. A lot of actors, you know, if you're not the A, B, or C, and you're just above the pond scum, you know, your nose is just above that, you don't get a chance to see that. And so it really helps all actors to be able to see how that's going, so it relates to what you're doing in the scene and in the whole landscape of the movie or the TV, of whatever you're doing. So, you know, I've always had my thing is, I hate people being taken advantage of. That I have no tolerance for. I just go atomic ballistic on. And so when I working in the film industry, it's, you know, you have your class society, just like all industries, no matter what it is. You always have that. But in the film industry, it would be so much better if they would give more direction and insight of what all the actors are doing. I mean, from the background actors to the actors that are background with featured bits and then get bumped up to contract day players. It would help, especially if they're just new in the business and they don't understand and have a history of how all this stuff works and how to sequence and all that stuff. If, you know, they would take more time to give a better description of what they're trying to do, because a lot of times they don't say, stand there and wait, and we're going to come by here, and don't say anything until we're rolling, you know, and that's about the description that you get of what's going on, and that doesn't help anybody, and especially doesn't help the whole team to make a good film.
I would argue they don't do that because they don't know. I mean, nobody knows. You know what I mean?
If you've been if they're rolling and they've been doing scenes, yeah, they do. I've been on so many sets, and where you just don't get enough. You need more. All of them, from the background all the way up through the whole sets, all the ADs. The ADs have done it for so much, then they just think that everybody knows it because they've been on the set for 10 or 15 days on a 30 or 45 day shoot. And so when they bring in other people, when they some of the other actors or day players, they haven't been on the set. Maybe it's a 1, 2, 3 days, and that's all they have.
Yeah.
And so they don't have the whole aroma of the show and how everything is supposed to fit. So it makes a better show if they would just give 5 more minutes. And how much is 5 more minutes going to take for them to explain?
Well,
But on Call of the Wild, now they did do a good job. That was all first rate, because the ADs gave everybody information of what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and what the background was, so that you could get a feel of what they were going to do. And they did that multiple times throughout the day. And so
remember, they're working with dogs. Dogs and Harrison Ford are probably the 2 most expensive things in that movie. I mean, you got to get both of them to look at the camera at the right time. And
that's right. You got it. And well, they're going to shoot me. I'm not going to. I don't want.
I
to
will
say
tell
anymore.
you though, because with the dog, and they probably have to use some CG with the dog, but you don't need. You're not saying any. This is just me.
I know nothing. Nothing.
But I mean, I was talking to. We had this great makeup girl yesterday,
Casey Mussman.
Really wonderful nocturnal designs.
Yeah.
Okay,
She was
on Halloween, right?
Yeah,
it was a good show.
She was working on Alpha, about the first dog, the movie about the first dog, and she said it was a wolf dog, and they worked when the wolf worked, and the wolf didn't feel like working. Well, nobody was working.
Yeah, the wolf would walk off set and just like, I'm not into it right now.
Who the hell is going to tell a wolf to get back?
Yeah, it's just
And you can't. With a dog, you'll have a script girl run up, get the hell over there.
Right?
You can't do that with a wolf. You're going to get your face.
No, but what you said, wolf, I thought you said Alf. And I said that. Now that's a series that they should bring back, because the guy that I think it was
Tom Patchett, who created Alf.
Oh, yeah, but I'm talking about the actor that played Alf.
Oh, he just died.
Oh, did he really?
You're talking about the little guy who played him in the suit?
Yeah, the little people.
Yeah, the little person who played him died last year.
Oh.
I'm sure they can get another Alf.
For
Patchett the Critter's the voice.
Oh, but for the reason, I just love that.
Yeah, the guy.
I love that series because it was really cutting edge, and they really capped the time and the attitude of everything that was going on, and he was such a classy character, and I wish they would bring that back. Or I have the figures of Alf, and I have them in some of my train cars that I stick on there, because he's just so cool. That was one of my favorite character actors. That's not the reason I became a character actor, but it's I think he was one of the classic ones as Alf, and people would probably scoff at that, but that's because they don't understand what the hell was going on.
Great humor. Did you have the pull the string talking elf? Give me 4. I'm a people alien.
No, I just the
Here, kitty.
Yeah.
So you turn this on. This is all your fault. Right?
Yeah.
The problem with what was interesting about Alf is Jerry Stahl, the former drug addict, the brilliant writer, wrote his autobiography, Permanent Midnight. He was the story. He wrote a bunch of Alfs, and if you watch, he does a series of Alfs where people see Alf and they're not sure if they really see him, and they're questioning themselves.
Yeah.
And they did a
Am I tripping? Is that a stuffed animal? Is it battery operated?
Yeah. Is it really?
Is that?
I think a lot of that has to do with just marketing. I mean, hell, look at how they marketed the Blair Witch. They marketed it as a real story of found footage.
And it worked.
It worked. It worked. Dude, this is a film that they spent, what, $25,000-$50,000 on?
Yeah.
We're 19 years from Blair Witch this year. And they're still doing the found footage movie. It changed the genre. I mean,
it did.
Cloverfield was like $100 million.
In the last, what is it? In the last 20, 25 years, there's only been 5 or 6 films that were truly new originals outside of the film box. Okay, one of them started with Blair Witch. Okay, with the found footage, created its whole new genre.
Right.
Okay.
Totally right.
Right. Paranormal Activity.
By the way, you know what inspired Paranormal? Spielberg had it's sort of a famous story. I guess Spielberg spanked the producers of The Haunting. Mm-hmm. He had like this $100 million star-studded version of The Haunting. Okay. Liam Neeson, and you had Lily Taylor, and you had Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Right. Wow.
And he had his movie had the crap kicked out of it by this thing from Burkittsville, which nobody had ever heard of, about a witch legend that nobody had ever known. Right. I mean, the Weinstein Company had passed on it. He said, "What's scary about a bunch of sticks?"
Right. Yeah, we're waiting to see what the witch looks like, right?
But if you watch it, the reason it was unnerving is because of the way it was shot. And anybody in film, anybody who watches movies knows that it's the editor that makes the film. It either makes it or breaks it, period, the way it's cut together.
Right.
And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It made me uneasy. It made my skin crawl. It made me... And I love horror.
Yeah.
I absolutely love horror. But it made me crawl. It made me uneasy because I was watching like I was there. It put me in that emotional, I was invested at that point.
And by the way, the fact that Spielberg saw this movie, he had the director of Twister and this big star-studded movie, and the best effects ILM or whoever did them could buy, and he had the crap kicked out of him by a $5,000 movie out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And what made it a game changer. And to me, Blair Witch, I know it's blasphemy, I didn't like it as much as they did a Sci-Fi Channel. The directors did, Sanchez and Myrick, did a Sci-Fi Channel tie-in on like a Boggy Creek style documentary. And I love that 100 times more than the movie. I just thought it was amazing.
And that's great, but what it did for the industry, was
it changed it, game changer.
It was one of those things that completely changed the industry. You have to go outside the box in order to create something like that. And I think today's day and age with social media and the ability to get information out there and do things the way that you can today is a huge difference in how you're able to promote, and get this stuff out there. Which is why I created this story. I'm a truck driver. I spend hours in my own head.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can think about, and Play-Doh and stars and and all this other,
And you're in great shape for a truck driver. You must.
He's military, man.
I always thought he was a serial killer. I'm aghast.
He's method. He only killed a couple hobos.
Are you second generation military? Was your dad military?
My dad was, yes.
But I mean, I've had truck driver friends and stuff, and they're kind of soft. Not that.
No, absolutely. There's it depends on how hard you run first off. Because DOT has a lot of restrictions, and you have to follow the law in order to do a lot of things. One of the things that I always try to do is that I had a routine. So as soon as I stopped the truck at the end of my 11-hour shift, I would do my workout. I would wipe off my truck, make sure that my truck was nice and pretty. Because if your truck's pretty, DOT's not going to screw with you when you go through a scale house.
Interesting.
Okay. If you take care of the outside, the likelihood of your books and all that stuff being on point is very high. So you don't have those issues. But I would wash the truck, and then I would take a shower, get something to eat, go to bed, and start the same thing over again. But I always had to do my workout. You know, because I didn't want to be one of those guys that got lazy and, you know, and didn't take care of himself. And, you know, it's because I've seen some of those guys die. They pass away in their sleep, in their truck, at the truck stop.
Wow.
You know, it's, you know, they have heart attacks and strokes. And, you know, I mean, truck stop food isn't exactly the greatest.
No.
Tastes phenomenal. Tastes phenomenal. I love trucker food. Okay. But it's not the best for your body.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, you know.
You don't have to be
I'm a
embalmed
single dad.
when you pass.
Right.
You save money. Your family saves money.
You know, but I mean, you know, I'm a single dad. You know, so I mean, you know, what I leave behind is my legacy with my son. You know, and that was something we were talking about earlier. You know, is the chemistry and connection between my son and I in the
In
film.
the trailer, it's quite obvious.
So, you know, that's another thing that I'm doing.
And I'm not bored. I'm keeping an eye on the time, boys.
So you're taking good care of your body and your truck, and everything keeps rolling.
I'm definitely doing my best, you know, but it's something, you know, here and there that we're trying to, you know, just work out, you know. And I look at myself and it's like, you know, I mean, I was, you know, when I was in the Army, I was, you know, bodybuilding and, you know, I had a 42-inch chest and a 30 or 28-inch waist and, you know, it's like
I never had a 28-inch waist. Maybe when I came out of the womb, but that was about that for 1 or 2 days.
You know, but yeah, you know, it's I try to take care of myself, you know, and then, you know, again, it's, you know, it's a different take, you know, I'm somewhere in the middle between, you know, super fit actor and, you know, like the not.
Are those your real dog tags in the poster?
No, that's actually I'm in recovery. My sobriety date's actually coming up 1/17/09.
Congratulations, by
so
the way.
almost 10 years sober now.
Wow.
But no, that's my ex-wife actually got that for me as a gift.
Wow.
And it's a dog tag, and it symbolizes two things for me. It symbolizes that every day that we face out there is a war, you know, especially as a recovering alcoholic addict.
And recovery talk is very helpful. If you, I mean, you look at Mr. Brooks, which is full of recovery talk. Right. And there was some horror movie the other night, and my brother Don was impressed with it, and you know, and knows about these things, and he goes, "That's recovery talk," you know, and it made perfect sense.
You know, it's, you know, but it's a war out there, fighting your own demons and coming back from the gutters, you know, which is basically what I did. You know, and there's a lot of other people out there too. Robert Downey Jr. is one of those who was, you know, absolutely in the gutter at the bottom of his career, and look at him now.
Yeah.
Became Iron Man.
70 million a movie.
After Less Than Zero. Remember, he lived that role, Less Than Zero,
absolutely.
just being an addict,
you know,
wandering the streets in 3 a.m.
Okay.
He actually has a line that I use a lot. And, you know, people
I am Iron Man.
No, it's one
Sorry,
of
I'm being
his
funny.
lines. It's one of his lines from, you know, his talks about recovery is that he doesn't drink anymore because he's allergic. And, you know, it's when somebody asks you to drink at a restaurant, something like that, you know, just kind of break the ice. And he comes back and he says, "No, every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs." You know, because
that's
you
true.
know, but that's the reality for, you know, for guys like me. You know, is that was the kind of lifestyle that I led. So
It was all or nothing then.
Right.
You know.
You know, I drank and used for effect. I wanted to get outside of the crap that I had in my head because I didn't know how to deal with, you know, my childhood traumas and, you know, and all the, you know, the PTSD and all that stuff, you know. So, you know, you know, being a thinker like I am, you know, I kept everything bottled up in my head and inside. I didn't know how to release it. So, you know, I did that a multitude of ways, you know, which I don't have to do anymore.
So you did not murder a hobo with a tramp walking along the freeway or anything to get in the...
I can't neither confirm or deny that statement.
Did he tell you, Craig, how much a real cent would do?
Sam wasn't roaming the Halloween Horror Nights up at the Universal Studios, the Bates Motel.
I walked up and Sam was bashing somebody's head in with a rock.
No.
You want to be in a movie, Craig?
Man, there's no style to that. You know, that's been done before. If I'm gonna kill somebody, I'm gonna do it like, you know, like
Creatively.
Creatively.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I'm gonna make it an art form. You know, whoever thought of using a belt sander to kill somebody?
Jason.
You know? But I mean,
Hannibal Lecter. There's one of the most artistic.
But only doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's like, dipping someone in an acid bath just to watch them dissipate and, disappear in a puff of smoke.
Well, did you want to tell them, explain for the movie your criteria for the people that you stalked? Because people are wondering, because they've asked me, when I'm talking about it, well, how did he figure out who he wanted to stalk? And I don't know if you wanted to talk about that or not. Because I think that would
touch on that. From my perspective, he wasn't really stalking them. It was more of an opportunist, in a way. One of the scenes, a person's walking down the street with a gas can. Something that we can all relate to. And when I was writing this, because this actually started a year ago.
Wow.
I had the concept in my head since 2006 when I was doing the acting thing, and I kind of put it on the back burner. And I was talking to Jeremy Miller, a great friend of mine.
The actor from the kid from Cujo.
No, from Growing Pains. He was Ben Seaver.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Wow.
But he's a really good friend of mine, and he was telling me about a project that he was working on, and it jarred these thoughts in my head of all these different synopsises and movies that I came up with. And so he pushed me to really, I kind of pitched him a couple of ideas. He's like, wow, those are brilliant ideas. You should do something with that. Let me see if I can talk to a couple of people. He got me in contact with somebody.
What a decent cat. That's he actually helped you out, it sounds like.
Right. So he introduced me to somebody, which is actually Jack London, we were talking about earlier, from the Wild. And he really pushed me to write it. He's like, dude, you need to do this. And so that really pushed me to write it. And when I was sitting down writing, I was thinking about how I would relate to the character, to this part. Because in a way, I'm kind of writing it about my life, because I am a single father. I am, struggling to take care of things and pay our bills and give my kids a good life.
And the serial killer, it sounds like the serial killer angle is sort of a metaphor for you.
It is. It's, again, you deal with the stresses of life, and it's, coming from my background, I had a broken home and, and all that stuff. And, I made a lot of bad choices along the way. And, I'm not blaming anybody but myself. I put myself in that position. I can accept that and take accountability for it. But, to have that background and to be a thinker like I am, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it artistically. I'm going to do it, regardless of what it is. So, a lot of this, is relating to how the character would go about. I became the character, and so.
Which, by the way, that's amazing.
And I really appreciate that. But being able to put myself in the shoes of the character and talk about it and figure out how he would do this as I was running it through in my head. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, how would this play out? And one of the things that was brought up at La Baffa when we were there on Sunday is if you don't sell the audience in the first 2 minutes of the film, you've lost it.
William Friedkin has a term.
It makes a long hour and a half.
Yeah, but William Friedkin has a term called expectancy set. And his theory on it is you've got the first 2 minutes to impress the audience. They're going to give you a blank check. Right. And he goes a lot of horror, just throw it away. Right. He goes, you'll get a good visceral reaction out of like a horrible face or mask. Right. And he said, what do you do after that? Well, it strangles somebody. And he goes, well, you've just lost the audience because you couldn't top their initial,
And so what I'm doing with this one is going off of that reaction, in the first 2 minutes, is that the way I actually wrote and broke down the film is every 5 to 10 minutes, there's a new murder scene. There's a new abduction. So that way it evenly breaks up throughout the movie to normal, dad and son, who's bullshitting, living life, doing the thing, murder scene.
And is your son in on it? Is your son? Does your son know what you're doing in the film? If I can ask.
I I can't give you that away.
I understood. Okay.
I would love to give that away, but I can't quite give that away yet.
And
no spoilers.
And there's a great.
I have two really big plot twists that is going to blow your mind. You're going to look at it, you're going to be like, what the hell just happened?
There's a horror movie I love. It was I think it was the only thing ever directed by Bill Paxton, but he did this movie called Frailty.
I've heard of that. I don't know if I've seen
Please
that.
take a look at Frailty. Frailty is like an EC horror comic, and it's these two sons, now adult, looking back on their father, and their father has an axe that he insists was a gift from God to help him find demons.
Right. Okay.
And just when you, it's the same reason I love Mr. Brooks. Just when you think you have it figured out, he goes for an ending that knocks your breath away.
Yeah.
You know.
Is it on by chance on cable? Or?
It is on Amazon Prime, good
Oh,
sir.
I have that. What's it called again?
It's called Frailty.
Frailty?
Frailty.
Okay. All right, that's good. I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
Craig, take a look tonight.
Liam, what's that? Liam Nelson, what the actor? How do you pronounce his name? I always screw it up. Lam Nelson.
Leslie Nielsen?
No, not.
No.
Lam Nelson. He just did.
We'll talk about Spy Hard in a minute.
Oh, okay.
That Craig is always trying to get us back to Spy Hard.
Plug out there.
But I mean, what a second act for that guy, Leslie Nielsen. And it's destroyed all his earlier work.
Well, it didn't destroy it.
When you watch the Poseidon Adventure, the classic Ernest Borgnine Poseidon Adventure,
yeah.
you start to laugh when you see Leslie Nielsen's the captain. And of course the boat flips, Leslie Nielsen's the captain.
You look back at all his serious roles that he's done after you've seen all this.
Shirley, you jest.
Yeah.
Don't call me Shirley.
And it worked because they got the Zucker brothers and Abrams. They got guys who were not known for comedy. Peter Graves and all these guys, all these serious cats.
Oh, when Peter Graves did that bit in the cockpit of the plane, I just about peed my pants.
Yeah.
With him, because you don't expect that, and it's just funny, and all that genre of the airplane and all the other stuff are just crazy.
By the way, an airplane in 1980 was exactly the type of game changer we were talking about with Blair Witch in 99. It had come along in a time where it just completely upset the apple cart. It changed how everything was working. Universal had been making the airport movies, and they'd been making a ton of bread on it. And they said Jennings Lang, who was the big Universal executive who would produce all the star-studded airplane movies, he saw, and airport movies. He saw Airplane, and he said, I think I'm unemployed. And he was right. Nobody wanted to see an airport movie after Airplane. You couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
I think they limped to the bar, and they might have, I'm trying to think, they either canceled them or did one more, because there was like an Airport 79 or something. And I believe Airplane opened first, and people were laughing at it.
Well, and that was one of the things that, like you said, changed the game, but it brought about a whole new genre.
Yeah, it did. It did the parody.
It was the first.
Yes.
To really, but that was also in a time where you didn't have to be politically correct. It was, you could do real.
You still don't if you want to be cutting edge and you want to be back to normalcy.
But the problem with that, like you said, is what did Mel Brooks say? The current movement is the death of comedy.
Yeah.
And you've got Jerry Seinfeld.
It's not a movement. It's just perpetrated by the so-called news media and all the small group of people that have a big mouth.
Political correctness.
Hold on, I need to go get all our tinfoil hats out of the car. No, but what is interesting? What is interesting is you have people telling you can't laugh at that. They can't celebrate the 40th anniversary of Animal House now because you can't laugh at that. And it's like,
well, wait a minute. That was that. I was talking on the at the Hollywood show, the last Hollywood show with what is his name? Jeez, I haven't had my coffee yet because you guys don't have coffee.
The
coffee maker's in the back.
The coffee maker's mothballed. They'll give you a swig if you really.
Well, I don't know where that coffee's been, so I mean I gotta watch it. I was trying to think of what's his name, the lead actor in Animal House. Help me out, Pat.
Okay, not Peter Vergier. You're talking about not Belushi, but you're talking about Tim Matheson.
Tim Matheson. Yes, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry, Tim, because I met him in a couple of shows back at the Hollywood show, and he was there. They had the Animal House reunion, and what was the other one?
American Graffiti.
Thank you, American Graffiti.
Animal House is a parody of American Graffiti. People miss that right down to the ending where they show what happened to all the characters.
Right.
Oh yeah. But Tim Matheson, we were talking about that, and about the Animal House, and I said, well, the three actors that are in the corner of the Hollywood show every 3 months. We have the Hollywood show at the Westin Hotel by LAX.
You better be getting a piece of this, Craig, the way you're pimping it.
Yeah. Well, I need to. Well, there is a reason for that, and I'm going to make a sign for the Delta House corner. Is because Jeff Bresler, myself, and
Mary Louise Willer.
No, it's Steve Moriarty. The three of us are in the corner. On the
our buddy Steve.
Our buddy, he's been on the show. Steve with the cars.
Steve Moriarty. Yeah,
So
We need to get him back in here.
1941 and Two Broke Girls. A great guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was
He was in Airplane
chef.
too.
He was
Was
a
he really?
kitchen chef in the back. And every time I'd watch it, he'd be back and forth, and then every once in a
He's
while
in
he'd
Animal
pop out.
House?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, Two Broke Girls.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
But okay, we're going back and forth here.
We are, sorry.
Now we're going back to Animal House. So the
We've
whole
deconstructed our deconstructionist.
yeah. So the whole
Hey,
the
it's
whole
chaotic radio,
Yeah,
guys.
it is. We gotta live up to the name, boys.
so the whole point of the story is that
I assume
Tim
there's
Matheson.
one.
Yeah, there is one. There is.
I'm effing with you.
So
Go
we were
ahead.
talking, and I said, you have to go in back in the corner for our tables, to see the three of us back there, because we're always in the same corner. Dave puts us in the same place in there, and which is good because we like that. And
Keep
so
pretending.
I'm gonna. He said, and I told Tim, it's the Delta Pledge corner, and then he started cracking up because of all the Deltas were trying to pledge with all the the elite at the school, and they put all the blind and the wheelies,
I love that, I love that.
wheelchairs, and all
He
the
goes,
cripples,
Have you met Juggless? Yeah, I'm very
come right back there. And I said, yeah, that's where Dave puts us. And then he just started cracking up, and I said, no, that's not really true, but I mean, it's because I'm an amputee, and I see the folly of all this political correctness, because it's growing up, we never had the problem. I mean, you made jokes and you not made fun of people, but you of situations that were, that deserved to, be funny or make fun of because of their stupidity and the shallowness of people.
And that's what Animal House does. I mean,
That's
it's a really smart movie, and it's a really the National Lampoon was a really smart, dark, funny book.
Well, The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? A couple of years ago, the movie came out about the little Asian guy runs the north side of a particular country.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like they were all up in roar, about that because poking fun at him. Right?
North Korea cracked the studio, but it turned out they didn't.
But look at the Naked Gun.
That's one of the plot points, yeah.
And Bin Laden and all those guys were in the opening scene, and they dropped a bomb on his ass.
Yeah, and
really?
and,
It was funny. Nobody cared.
but he kills all of them, and he comes home, and there's a marching band and all that, and he
But
turns.
it's not for him.
Yeah, he turns to George Kennedy, and he goes, "I guess they heard about what I did." And he goes, "No. Weird Al Yankovic was on the plane."
Right.
I mean, it's
There you go.
absurdist. It's
But
brilliant.
the comedy was genius,
Yeah.
and nobody got offended.
Well, the fact that you can't even make a comedy without people getting offended, how can you be funny if people are suddenly offended? I mean, you can't celebrate the 40th anniversary of Animal House. That's ridiculous.
No, who said you
Well, I'm going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it
There
right
was a
here.
bunch of articles, basically, and the people, there have been no big spreads on Animal House. There have been no big profiles. Because, oh my God, Animal House does all sorts of terrible things.
Oh,
Yeah, like the girl.
That's ridiculous.
Like the angel and the devil going to Tom Hulse, going, you know, fuck her.
Watch your language. We don't do that.
And
That's hilarious.
do it. And then he.
But like any Panda cartoon.
And what kid
She
in
stuffed her
high
bra.
school with all their screaming hormones didn't even think about? That's exactly what they thought about. How can I get into somebody's pants?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
every red-blooded kid wanted, that was, I mean, that's all you thought about, and,
And that's why
We wanted a home run.
Yeah.
First, second, third base.
There's a TV show about that. Now, it's an animated series about that, and it's like the little monsters are hormones.
Really?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I can't think of the damn.
Is it
name
on
of
Adult
right
Swim?
Yes.
Cool. All right.
There you go.
But it's funny as hell. But going back to the thing about everybody being offended was like, you were talking about the Animal House and not being able to celebrate that or whatever for what it was. But if you take that even a step further, look at Airplane. I speak jive.
Yeah.
You can't do stuff like that.
By the way, one of the jive talkers, he's in my Incredible Hulk book, and he's in my next book as well.
So I mean, there's only so far that it can go. I mean, when does it come to an end?
Well, I think it's coming to an end now because people all over the country is just fed up with this crap.
Well, if you approach any movie with pointing a finger at the filmmakers, you can't do that. Right. Why can't you? Yeah.
I mean, this is a free country, and we do have, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the ability to free speech, even though on a lot of college campuses,
You can't say that.
you can't say that, and they have to have their safe spaces, and that is so ridiculous. And people, I don't know why parents would spend $30,000 and $40,000 for their kids to go and be indoctrinated by a bunch of Kool-Aid drinkers.
Yeah.
Let's keep it clear. I'm apolitical, the boys, so I'm trying to keep
A couple PTA mothers could start complaining, and then it's taken off the show.
Oh, no.
But I mean, let me ask you for something. By the way, were you a Star Trek viewer before you played a Borg on the show?
Actually, yes, mostly, but I was more into the shoot 'em up and westerns, and I've only done one western. It was the Mag 7 on the TV series. I played a prison outfit,
Yeah.
chain
Wow.
gang, and that's as close as I got to riding a horse and shooting my Colt 45.
That feels great, though, doesn't it? When you do like I did that in a music video when you're in the Chang Gang outfit and it's all being shot indoors. That's only Hollywood can do that kind of BS.
Yeah, it was cool, and we shot it out there in let's see, it was someplace in Santa Clarita, one of the movie ranches. It might have been Gene Autry's Melody Ranch.
Was it Blue Sky or was it Melody Ranch?
I really don't know anymore. It's been so long. I'd have to look at my call sheet.
When you did Westworld, did you? Because I did an episode of that.
That was at the Melody Ranch.
Melody Ranch, yeah.
Now they have. When I went there the first time I got there in the Melody Ranch, and you're going in all these suburban, tracks in there, and then all of a sudden pops up there's a Melody Ranch. Well, 40 years ago when Gene Autry was doing that, there was nothing out there.
No.
And so
It built all around it.
Yeah, he's got 4 ranches. There was 4 ranches that Gene Autry had, and they had different themes in each of the ranches. So it was amazing, and we shot 2 different at the Melody Ranch, and then at one of the other ranches they had
where the train
fort.
was. Did you see? Is that the one with the train? It's about 30 feet of track, and
that wasn't
about
that.
100.
That was the Sable Ranch up in Santa Clarita where we shot Call of the Wild. The Sable Ranch has got a bunch of Amtrak cars, and it's at like No, it's more than 30 feet. It's more like about 150 feet because there's 4 or 5 cars. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's a short track. They have the old worn out ghost town like Western, and I remember we did our costuming there, and then right down the road is where we shot at the Melody Ranch. You know, It's got that same Mexican thing with the fountain in the middle, and it's.
That's where we shot the Mexican fort.
Yeah, the Mexican fort.
That's where we did the
Confederados. A lot of movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They did that on. I think they were using that on the original Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner when they first did it. I think they.
Wow!
Oh, look at that.
That threw me for a minute there.
That's one of my better halves coming up right now. My right arm, my best right arm, one of my right arms.
Oh.
Oh, what he wants to see. Here, hold it up like that.
Oh no.
This is one of the skits that he does when we're like the Hollywood show.
Okay,
and stuff like that.
here.
Oh, yeah.
If you can put the. Okay,
Oh,
you
it's
see
on
that?
there, yeah.
Okay, when I'm.
Shake your hand, man.
Easy.
See, what's weird is that you sold it well in this hammy movie extra right here.
Yeah.
He tried to make it about his reaction. The reaction of you being settled with his arm. You just did a master class in acting, my hammy friend.
Oh yeah, I do that. I do that shtick all the time.
Oh, that's cool. That's look at it.
At the Hollywood show.
Oh, thanks.
Good couple.
And what I do, I have my background. I mean, my racks, and this is hanging up in there, and then I have a baseball bat on the palm of the hand, and then I put my sleeve over there, and I'm watching people come through, and they're looking at my table and everything, and then I'll go, and I put it up, and then the thing is still right there.
You know what's interesting? I went to a friend's Halloween party, if I can see that for a second.
Just be careful with the wrist.
No, clearly. But a friend of mine had done a shark movie called Frankenfish. Yeah, effects artist. And at his Halloween party, he had one of the victims was set up on the table. And what would happen is he would take a beer out of the hand of the victim, and the next one would roll into the palm.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and it was here you go. But the,
I didn't know you were giving him.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were just giving me the finger. You know.
No, we got this one for that.
There we go. Yeah. But this is supposed to be a family show, isn't it?
Yes, and we're trying to keep it.
Oh hell no!
That's semi-family.
Well, that's a
Family show.
Special effects stuff next time.
What the heck?
Bullshit.
You know, the cool thing is that if you want, next time I come on your show, well, if I'm invited back.
You are most certainly invited back.
But I'll bring our gel stuff and our molds, and I'll
Oh,
actually
yeah.
do a mold for you guys on air live while we're talking about this stuff.
That sounds rock and
that
roll.
way
Yeah.
you guys can have your own silicone prosthetics to just, you know.
And then you can mount it,
around however
and
you
he can sign it for you.
I have
Him and Steve. Autograph it.
the great Tom Berman gave me my.
I want his
cast,
fingerprints.
so I can use.
Yeah.
I'm able to when there's a creature gig, I'm able to say, hey, I got my life cast, because otherwise it's a lot of money.
See, our casting process and the things that we're doing with this is completely outside of that box. Once again, our molds are done and set in 45 minutes, and we're pouring silicone in 45 minutes.
Wow.
Our prosthetics or our props, you know, our hand props and stuff like that, and I showed you guys when we were at LABAFA, LBAFA. But what we're doing is the process that we're using gets them out the door quicker. Okay? So I can create a hand and have it out the door, you know, a hand prop, you know, from the wrist up, in literally 4 days out the door.
Wow.
And it's custom matched to the actor or actress that it's meant for on set. So,
That's amazing.
You know, and nobody else in the business is doing it, and it doesn't matter what part of the body or a full body or a head or anything else that we do for it, we can put those out just as quickly because of the process that we're using. So.
Wow. You know,
That's pretty cool.
it is. And it's because when you do the alginate, you come back like a week later, you know, and it's amazing. And you have the hair punching.
That,
you
you
know.
have to sculpt the details and all of that stuff.
You know, pouring in the plaster, then adding the clay, whatever, then making the 2-half molds.
Right. See,
and then transferring that to silicone or foam latex.
Right. What we're doing is a lot more like paraffin wax. You put your hand in the paraffin wax and it's set. You know, pull it out and dip it, and pull it out and dip it. It's similar to that process, but with something that's completely new to the industry, and well, at least for the process that we're using it for. Excuse me. But you know, by using this thing, not only once we make the mold, we can remelt it and reuse it and make another mold out of it.
Wow.
So, you know, each one of our prosthetics or each one of our you know, our props that we do.
Okay, they're coming after you, Jeff.
They found me. Oh shit.
You both had it coming for a long time.
But you know, but by using this process that we're doing, it gets the stuff out quicker, and we're calling it hyper realistic because it doesn't, you know, it grabs each and every single pore and defect, you know, every line and crevice in your hand, you know, whatever body part you.
I have defects. I didn't know that.
I need other fingerprints besides mine. So when we mold his hand,
hey, we should talk.
We're not shaving the fingers off, no.
Hey, have your people call my people.
Yeah.
Jeff's people are the ones who run the shelter he stays at.
Hey, I think I might know them.
Jeff names his bed bugs.
Oh my gosh.
But to me,
okay.
But to me, we're living in an era where you can make a movie. And you guys are clearly doing it with this project, Normal Terror. We're living in an era where you can, and that blew Landis's mind. He looked at these kids and he said, why aren't you all making movies? And I mean, to me, I've always been thinking it's always one strong concept. You just have to find a strong enough concept, invest in it, and go with it.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of times it's harder than that, but I've always wanted to do it, and when Sam came up to my table at the Hollywood show.
Is that how you guys met?
Yeah.
It is.
And
I was there with Jeremy Miller, you know, as his guest.
The growing pains kid but it sounds like he did a lot for you. It sounds like he opened up.
He really did. He believed in me.
Is he in the movie?
He is in the movie. He's an associate producer, and he's doing one of the scenes with me as himself. He's doing a cameo.
He sounds like a cool dude, actually. You know,
Jeremy is absolutely phenomenal. If you want, I mean, I can get him on the show for you.
We'd love to have him sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But what I love is that you pitched him. He listened, and he set you up so you can get it going.
And that's exactly what he did. You know, it's all the cards fell into place. You know, when. I think that if you have a project that you're passionate about and you truly believe in, you can find a way to make it happen. That passion is going to sell your project. That passion is going to get you through to completion. You know, because there's been times where, you know, where I've been, you know, down on myself. I don't think we're moving quick enough. I want to get back on camera. I want to get shooting again. I want to get our special effects done. I want to get this stuff moving. And
get out the footage age.
I want it to get out. You know, but at the same time, you know, I start getting down on myself. I get depressed. I get, you know.
You can't give it desperation, man. You got to keep it trucking.
But every time that happens, something comes along to push us forward, you know, and keep me going in the right direction. You know, for instance.
Life will find a way, to quote Jurassic Park.
Right. You know, but I mean, for instance, you know, I put up a post. There was a deal on merchandise the other day. And I put up a post, you know, saying, hey, anybody want to spot me $300 to get this deal? You know, it's 50 t-shirts and some hats and some, you know, stickers and koozies and stuff like that, right? And it was, you know, a Halloween sale. And I just kind of threw it out there as a joke, you know. Well, one of my fans anonymously donated that package to us. So we have some merchandise coming out. You know, we've got 50 t-shirts, some hats, some koozies, some stickers, and patches.
That's amazing. Like that. I mean, that people will step in and help you out like that. You know?
But it's stuff like that that pushes me forward and makes me, you know, when I'm feeling down, helps me to believe in what we're doing because other people believe in it. You know, we've got a great following because of social media and the age that we live in today. You know, I mean, I've got, guys with me that have been with me since the beginning. A really good friend of mine, Mr. Aaron Sturtevant, he does a podcast called Horror with Sir Sturdy, and he was my first official interview. And it's like, and he still follows me. He was just invited to the HorrorCon. He's on the East Coast, and he went to, I think it was ScareCon or something like that, and he was invited as a media personnel. And he did a panel and some stuff like that, but he was plugging us out there, and I've got, we've got fans all over the world now because of this.
I mean, that to me is great. That because the again, we've never been closer. That you can put an idea out there, you can talk about your concept on that guy's podcast, and suddenly people all over the world know about it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I found just in my workings in the business and in the career, the more you push, sometimes the worse off you are and the farther back you get. Instead of trying to push forward, it's like you're in a wind tunnel and you're getting blown back. A lot of times you have to just take it as it comes, do what you can, and if you get roadblocks, figure a way to go around them or do whatever you have to do. But sometimes pushing is the worst thing to do, because the pushing, it doesn't work. Things start going wrong, and it's just not really the way to go. You have to walk a tightrope, the fine line of doing pushing, and then when it gets to be too much, you have to back off, because that's not going to help me. And that's the whole thing.
But I'm a self-centered SOB.
Well, yes, you are.
Done my way, and I want them now.
Well, that's not true, because we talked about the scenes and how we did our deal, right. And it was a very cooperative and operation of give and take on both things, and how we saw the thing. And I mean, that's what a great director does. He works, with the actors, and being an actor, as Sam is, the give and take is what you need to do, and within what he's trying to take care of in the scenes and stuff. And once you work on that, you have some input on there, and you say, hey, what about this, or is this? Oh, now I understand what you're trying to do, and that sounds good. One of the stories for another time on the movie, but once it comes out, there's more stories that we can talk about, but I'm not going to do that.
Screw that. Give everything away now.
Yeah, no, but I mean...
could you two act out Normal Terror for us?
Yeah. It's
I can't wait till the musical comes out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like Springtime for Hitler. That's the way it's going to be like that.
Well, to circle back on Reanimator for a moment.
Okay. I love to circle back for that. And can I do one thing before I forget?
I want to read your manifesto again?
Yeah, I want to do my manifesto. But I want to make sure, for all the players, David Gill, he's passed. And he was the headless doctor that was just... hell-bent on getting Megan.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, even with his head attached and grabbing it.
That's because Jeffrey Combs chopped off his head with the shovel.
And he takes
the Reanimator juice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, what was the Reanimator juice? You're in those scenes. What was it?
I really don't know what it is, but the closest thing to it is Prestone antifreeze.
Wow.
The color.
Yeah.
No, it looked like the glow stick stuff. Those glow sticks that you snap.
Yeah,
it looked like that fluid.
Well, they were doing stuff with some, on the movie where they put in that color, because there was nothing in there, because I think that glow stuff is pretty caustic. If you had it on your skin and stuff. So I think they just colorized it from the movie, however they were doing it then. But the whole thing, David Gill, Robert Sampson, Bruce Abbott, John Nolan, the special effects, and he was the creator, and the makeup artist that did all my stuff.
Do you still see Bruce Abbott from time to time?
Well, from I saw him at the what was it? The Son of Monsterpalooza when we had the panel discussion for the 30th year anniversary.
Wow.
And in 2 years coming up, it's the 35, I think, 35 years.
in a year and a half.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big deal.
Should turn 35 next year.
And my other business partner that does all my special plaques, collective plaques, for my parts of my reenactment costumes that we didn't use for my mannequin that I show on display when I go out for the signings. And you've seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
And I think you've seen it too.
Made with our prosthetics.
Yeah.
That's going to be a full mannequin with the whole thing and my head face. So it's going to be, Mr. Sending Delicately.
Yeah.
At your service. And, with John Nolan, like I said, Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton, Stuart Gordon. And I have his number, and I'm going to give him a call because another actor friend of mine that I met at the Hollywood show, because it's like a reunion. That's why I like to go, because it's a networking reunion with all the actors and stuff, and you get to see people or get back in contact with people you've lost contact with or you haven't seen for years, and so that's just great. And Brian Zuniga, he was the producer of Reanimator.
Was he related to Brian Usna? Brian Usna.
Zuniga.
No, it's why you're thinking of Daphne Zuniga. You're thinking of Brian, and who doesn't think of Daphne Zuniga? Brian Usna, Uyuzna.
Zuniga, isn't that how you pronounce it?
No, Usna.
Okay, well, anyway, I mean...
I want you to admit my...
Okay. You will do what I say! But anyway, I just wanted to give them a plug because I don't think Bob Sampson is listening to Kaotic Radio, which he probably should in Hawaii.
You said he's
but
in
if
Hawaii
he does,
now. That's amazing.
He was, and his one quick story, and my daughter says, "Do they know that when Dad starts talking, you can't shut him up?"
Yeah,
and
but
I
that's
said,
part
no,
of the joy of having he nodded knowingly.
But at one of the Hollywood shows, Bob Sampson's daughters were there, and so they came up and they saw the pictures of behind the scenes. I have pictures of that with Bob Sampson on the Reanimator, and so they said, "Ooh, can we have, would you autograph one of the pictures for us?" And we pay for. I mean, we sell the pictures and stuff. And says, "Oh, well, we'll pay you for that." And I said, "No, absolutely not." I signed it for Bob, and I said, "Tell him hi. I hope he, feels better or gets, close to good health as he possibly can."
Was he in bad health?
Yeah, he wasn't feeling too good, and I haven't heard how he is right now. But hopefully he's still out there. Sitting on the sand watching the waves or even surfing maybe, but I don't know. But he had I believe it was 2 daughters or a daughter and a
was
girlfriend.
Was she an actress or?
No, they were just at the show with their godfather, which was and I can't think of the actor's name, but I met him there, and they were supporting him at the Hollywood show, and they were just walking around back in the Animal House corner, and that's where they found me. So that's where I'm going to make a sign. I'm not going to tell David though, so don't tell David from the Hollywood show that I'm going to make a sign.
I was just checking. 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Okay, before, I know you guys like to do a lot of charity stuff, so Craig and I discussed it, and one of the things we want to do is we want to give you guys a few posters.
Yeah,
please.
So, but we want to autograph them on your show, so that helps with the, hopefully
the authenticity.
Yeah.
And stuff like that for you guys. So that way, you guys, if you want to auction them off or whatever you want to do with them, it's completely up to you, and then donate them to whatever your favorite charity is. So we do have a couple of posters. We'll do that in right as we get towards the end.
Wow.
We got a new charity to buy raise enough money to get Patrick a pair of flip flops that fit his feet.
That's not the charity. No.
Thank you, boys. I want Jesus boots on my feet at all times.
Yeah, we're thinking about just getting some old tires. If we could donate some old tires and cut them on the bandsaw.
Hell, I can make those.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get
tell them your size, brother.
I can get a mold of your foot, and we'll make you a silicone prosthetic to go across the bottom of it.
Great, that sounds good. When I did my Bigfoot movie, they bought a pair of sneakers in my size,
right,
and then gimmicked them up as big feet. So all I have to do is slide into them, and I'm running up and down a mountain in Colorado.
You talk about the treads. That's what we used to do back in the '60s. They were called Hirachis, and all the surfers wore those.
Yeah,
we would go down to Tijuana, and we buy them. They had tire treads, and I had the audacity because some of the leather was broken off, and my wife wanted me to throw the things out, and I said no, and then I threw them out, and then I wish I wouldn't have, because they're classic. They're comfortable, and they never wear out. You know, it's a piece of leather. You just replace the leather and give it a little bit of saddle soap, and they're good to go. You know, more than 100,000 miles you can get on them damn treads.
That's so funny. You know what I mean? And I think we discussed this, you being a surfer, about 3 miles that away in Rancho Cucamonga is where they did Wipeout, the safaris, at Studio Z, the Frank Zappa place.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Safaris, I love
right
them.
Up the road, they did American Ninja Warrior right there in Irwindale. They had it
Really?
set up, yeah. They're right there at the Irwindale Speedway. They had it. They had American Ninja Warrior set up right there. It was cool.
I did not know that.
The hell, I think they spent like 3-4 weeks building it, and then it was running for like a week or two.
Wow.
It was cool, yeah.
That's amazing, you know.
Dude, they do stuff everywhere, man. You know, I mean, it really doesn't matter anymore where you do something. I mean,
Please don't tell me that, because half the stuff I love is in Louisiana or Georgia or you know what I mean.
You know, man, I spent 5 years in Chattanooga and absolutely love it out there. It was so beautiful, man. North Georgia, Chattanooga area. Matter of fact, my phone number is still from that area because I've had it for 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's why I wondered where I was getting this damn call from, and it was just lucky I answered it. Because it came from, he gave me his card, and I didn't pay any attention to the area code. Then he'd call me on my cell phone. What the hell? You know, where the back in. You know, on the East Coast, you know, in the Atlantic Ocean. Where is this thing?
I remember Craig just going redneck.
Yeah. No, because actually I didn't originally have Craig cast for this part.
Yeah, tell him about that.
I had another gentleman, a friend of mine, was going to play the part. And I actually wrote the part for him, but he fell on some medical issues and wasn't able to be a part of it. So I was kind of in panic mode, like, oh crap, what the hell am I going to do? And I remembered about a couple of weeks, about a month before I was getting ready to start shooting again, I had met Craig at the show, and we had exchanged cards and information because he actually wanted to work on my next film. Because I've got 6 other films ready to go. You know, concepts. I just need to sit down and write them, and production, all that good shit.
Are you a night writer?
And drink coffee.
Yeah, lots of coffee. Are you a night writer or a day writer?
Probably more night than day. But once I get going, like the normal terror script, I had it written in a month.
Wow.
You know,
I admire that sort of stick-to-itiveness.
You know, so it's one of those things. Once my head gets turning on something, it comes out. You know, if you're a fan of 13 Ghosts and Pirates of the Caribbean,
it's a hell of a pitch.
Okay, so think of that right there. Okay, I'm gonna do a mashup between the two, steampunk style on a train. That's my next film that I have in the works. So, but yeah, but no, we had met at the Hollywood show and had talked, and I was kind of in a bind, and I was like, I wonder if Craig would be interested in filling in this spot. And so we talked, and went back and forth a couple of times, and it worked out great, and Craig became the standing delegate victim.
Mm-hmm.
And is this SAG or SAG ULB or?
It is going to be SAG.
Wow.
Correct.
You can do your new
I'm
media
working
thing,
on
right? And SAG yourself on this.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
So
What was that?
Yeah.
They call it new media. Where
Oh yeah, the new media, which is another word for low budget. But
Yeah.
then when I was talking to at SAG to get some more details, because I'm working on all the contracts and a lot of the business side of the thing, because from my business background, because my day job was in aerospace.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Northrop on the B-2 bomber, Boeing on satellites and space-related vehicles, all classified. And so if I tell you too much, I'd have to kill you. But I kept the airways safe for democracy.
By the way, thank
while I
you,
was
Craig.
in there. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Right? No, that's only for the military, please.
I remember when my nephew was Troy was like 8 or 9. I took him to the San Diego Comic-Con, and one of the things he had to do, my brother Stephen and I kind of jokingly gave him a series of chores he had to do at the convention. One, he had to go up to every guy dressed as Captain America, shake his hand, and thank him for his fake service.
There you go. That's a good one. I love that.
And that blew up in our faces because we saw him shaking. He was saluting and shaking hands with the Triple X Captain America from a porn parody of the Avengers.
Oh my God.
I thought my sister's gonna friggin' skin me.
Yeah, probably she
Now,
should.
It's funny you actually say that, because one of our scenes in Normal Terror is with Steven Stonecipher, my special effects guy. Is I actually skin him like I would an animal, like I'd feel dressed an animal.
Really?
That's how I kill him. So yeah, I've actually put that up on our on my Sacrificial Pawn Productions Facebook page.
Don't post too much. You want to have a movie in it.
I made a deal with my fans that if I got a certain amount of followers and likes and stuff like that, that I would celebrate that by releasing a written version of the scene. So that I try to hold true to my word. I like to believe I'm a man of integrity, and so when we did reach that specific number, I released a scene as promised.
Wow.
So because again, I don't want it to be all completely hush hush, and not I want those out there that have hope and want to do something or pursue something like what we're doing, the way we're doing it. I want them to be able to look at us and watch us and say, you know what? I see how they do that. That really gives me hope, and I want to do that too.
Fair enough.
So I want them to see how it's doing it without having to spend the money to buy the DVD and and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I would love it to to boost my life and support my kids and pay my bills and all that stuff. But I'm doing it for the passion of the art.
By the way, that's fair. That's fair. You know what I mean? Are you guys? See, I'm telling you, it's the day after Halloween. I'm fried. Are you guys doing AFM, the American Film Market?
I would like to. I hadn't. I don't really know a whole lot about that yet. So.
But make sure. Usually, you could at least schmooze and do deals in the lobby and stuff. This is the first year where they're blocking off the lobby and the lower floors too.
Well, we need to talk about that.
Okay, and that we shall. Now we are at 3 minutes to go, so fellas, start pimping away.
Alrighty, well, I'd like to give a couple of shout outs. Thank you guys so much.
No, the honor's ours. Thank you for doing the show, boys.
But Terra Incognito, Horror with Sir Sturdy, all of my cast, my crew, Steven Stonecipher, my makeup artist, Marisol Almeida, MJ, makeup artist, my DP, Anna Hamill, my actress, Alyssa Bermudo, and Kelly Kickham, and Joy Goodman, and just everybody we have involved is phenomenal. My anonymous donor, thank you so much. Everybody's out there been supporting us. One of our friends' bands, Invasive, has been a huge supporter. They're doing some of our soundtrack stuff. They're a band out of eastern or western Idaho, eastern Washington, Spokane area. Spokane, not sure how to say that.
Spokane, I love Washington.
But they do.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that has a problem.
But they've been a huge supporter of ours, and our fans they're diehards, man. You know, they share our stuff and they get us out there and they promote us, and it's amazing. And while Craig's doing his pitch and giving his shout outs, I'm going to get these posters ready for us to sign before we sign off.
So good idea.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you guys once again.
Craig,
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
And when we have more time, the next show we'll do the Call of the Wild and some of the other stories from Reanimator and a lot of other shows.
Well, the musical
Spy Hard also.
In the last minute, I have to tell you, the musical Reanimator, the first three rows were considered a splash zone.
Right.
And they would give you trash bags to wear over your clothes because there'd be so much blood coming off stage into the audience.
Yeah,
You know?
and the thing is with Stuart Gordon, I was going to tell him if he would have put me in on the play Reanimator, I could have closed out the theater and got everybody out, when I opened up my mouth and tried to sing.
Oh.
So that was
And I want to thank both of you guys for coming in the day after Halloween when I got to be honest, my head is beating like a gong and drum.
I'm still on a sugar high, man.
Wow.
No problem.
Yeah, but your grandpa. Nobody says anything about grandpa filching from the bag.
Oh, my kids and my grandkids, they don't consider me an actor or a celebrity at all. And I have to remind them, and they say, "Oh, nah, you're just Nanu." The Italian word for grandpa.
Good old Nano.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. We really appreciate it.
All right, you guys.
Boys, thank you. And on behalf of the Jeff and Janky show, thank you, fellas and gang, everyone listening. Happy day after Halloween.
Until next time.
Wow, guys.